and welcome back to the show. Incremental shifts, that's what I'd like to talk to you about today. The reason being that every successful person I've ever known has always had the ability to take small, consistent and considered steps towards their goals in life, in whatever area of life we're talking about. And the reason that that is important for you to understand and to wrap your head around is that rarely is it that in one fell swoop our life changes and we become an overnight success. It's only as a result of hundreds, if not thousands or more, consistent, steady steps that a person takes that it can really start to move the needle in their favour, and for them to experience leveraging their lives in a much bigger way, either from the connections that they've made over the course of time by doing this, or the standard in terms of the skill level that they've reached by doing those consistent small actions, or the impact that they can make on a person's life for the positive that really helps to shift that needle. It's like there's that story, isn't there? You know, behind every overnight success is 20 years bloody hard work, right? And there's an element of truth in that. Of course there is. And this goes for the music students I used to work with, all the way up to very, very successful business people that I know. And the thing that has always set people apart is this concept of incremental shifts, small baby steps. Now, going back to my music teaching days, I had all manner of different pupils with obviously completely different range of skill levels and ability. And it was really funny because I noticed that the ones who had natural talent, who had the real capacity to just be able to pick up an instrument and play almost effortlessly, were the ones that sometimes couldn't be bothered. They would kind of think that they got it all sorted just by doing a tiny bit of practice here and there, or they could get away with not practicing because they were pretty good, so therefore they could kind of almost blag their way through the lessons or the concerts or the exams they did. And it was in actual fact the ones who weren't as able, naturally gifted, who worked consistently on their technique, in terms of the way they actually blew their instrument, because I was always a woodwind teacher, so how they blew their instrument, the embouchure, their breath control. They worked on the technical aspect. They worked on their ability to read music, understand rhythms and complex aspects of playing music. And because they were consistent and they took those baby steps regularly, they practiced every day, they would end up actually overtaking the ones with the natural ability, because the ones with natural ability were almost complacent in terms of how they thought they were going to get somewhere. So it's almost a little bit the story of the tortoise and the hare, isn't it, if you think about it? And this is really a concept that has fascinated me over the years, because I didn't even realise that what we were doing in our lives all those years ago when we started off in our property business, we were literally doing this incremental shift. There's a book actually called The Slight Edge by a guy called Jeff Olson. I highly recommend it. And it really details the concept that I want to share with you today. Because at the end of the day, it's the people who are willing to go that slight extra mile each and every day and be consistent in their actions that will overtake the ones who are kind of just doing the thing that they need to do, turning up at work, doing the thing, but they never go that extra mile. They never put in that consistent, concerted steps towards really making something happen. So there are 3 quotes from this book that I absolutely love, and I'm going to share them with you today because it is so powerful, this concept. So the first quote is, "The truth is, what you do matters. What you do today matters. What you do every day matters. Successful people just do the things that seem to make no difference in the act of doing them, and they do them over and over and over until the compound effect kicks in." Like I've just said, if you do something consistently, hundreds of times, thousands of times, and you, for example, let's take the example of a musician who has practiced and practiced and practiced and developed their level of skill, technical ability, musicality, all the things needed to become a brilliant musician. And then they get that lucky break. They sit in an audition room and they come with that to the table, versus somebody who has kind of, blagged it a bit and knows they have natural raw talent and thinks they, the bee's knees, regardless of the fact that, they haven't practiced as much. And that one who has done that consistent action obviously has an element of natural talent as well, but maybe not as much as the other person. Well, they will both sit down in that audition room, and that first one, they're just going to nail it. Absolutely spot on, versus the one who's been more reticent, I suppose, about the practice and fluffs all the technical stuff, or, isn't consistent in their performance. And that is what can make the difference between somebody really being skyrocketed to success versus someone who has kind of not really put the effort in. Okay, so that is when the compound effect really kicks in. The second quote is this: "The journey starts with a single step, not with thinking about taking a step." Really let that sink in. How many people do you know who talk the talk, but never actually walk the walk? Because at the end of the day, talk is cheap. Saying you're going to do something or talking about doing something is not the same as doing it. Really obvious and really, really, really important when it comes to this idea that the incremental steps that you take are going to be what makes that massive difference in your life. So actually starting something, actually doing something is the journey. And the third quote is, "Successful people do whatever it takes to get the job done, whether or not they feel like it." And this is very, very true, especially if you think in the context of someone who's working towards a level of fitness. It's the ones who get up and either go to the gym or they do their run or they get up and they do their morning routine, etc., etc. And the ones who do that consistently and do it every single day, even when it's dark outside, even when you wake up and the rain is pouring down and it's the last thing you feel like doing, even when they've been out the night before and the thought of an early morning is just like, I don't want to get up. Chuck that alarm clock off. The ones who are still willing to get up, get themselves out of bed and do something about their health, their level of fitness, are the ones who are going to reap the rewards over the course of time. Yeah. And so it really is a matter of being able to master the mundane. And I love this idea because, it's so simple. It's so simple. I didn't even really think about this until we've been treading the property path for some years. And I was thinking, well, how come we're getting somewhere and we're building our portfolio? And we just thought, well, this is normal, right? It's normal. It's just so obvious to us that if you put the time in and you make the phone calls and you go and do the viewings and you do your calculations and you get in touch with the mortgage broker and you get in touch with the builders and then you get the tenants in, it all happens, right? Little did I know that we were a little bit different, a little bit strange, because there were people who were not willing to do that. And it really is this idea of mastering the ordinary, the everyday. It's easy to go and buy that cup of coffee. It's also easy to leave that money in the bank account. It is just down to a matter of choice. So things are easy to do and they're easy not to do. And the thing is, the minute that you don't do something and then you don't do something again the next day, it kind of creeps up on you, that it kind of falls into that pattern. And that's how habits form. That's why they say when you want to change your behavior or change a habit, it can take like 21 days for you to do something consistently, for that to really have a shift in your consciousness, your body, your mindset, everything, in terms of actually making a difference in your life. And so it's the ordinary, everyday things that are easy to do but easy to not do. It's a matter of making that choice about, are you going to do it or are you not going to do it? The second thing about this idea of the ordinary, the mundane, is that often the results are invisible to start with. You don't necessarily see the effect that exercise is having on your body to start with, or that not having a cup of coffee is having on your bank account. It's so small, it's almost seemingly insignificant, until you do it every day. And then after a month you notice, oh, okay, well, maybe fitting in my clothes a little bit easier, or okay, all right, I've got an extra couple of £100 in my bank account that wouldn't normally be there. All right, okay. And then it's imperceivable to start with. And because time is such a funny thing, it can take quite a long time for the results to actually show. But when they do start to actually show, that's when you get the real kind of momentum and the kind of that compounding effect that we've spoken about before, where your ability to do something or the results that you're working towards are really, really showing. And they can seem so insignificant to start with. It's almost like, well, so what if I do and so what if I don't? All I can say to you is, oh my goodness me, if we had had that attitude when we first started, we would not have become financially free. I would still be music teaching. My husband would still be mortgage broking or whatever he would be doing. And it's a choice, isn't it? It is literally down to that choice of making that decision. What do you want to change in your life? What do you want for your life? And it is literally that, just those small incremental things. I say to my clients, it's 1 to 3 small things every single day towards your goals that are going to make all the difference. And they're going to really move the bar compared to your peers, your friends, your family, people around you who are not doing those things. And you will find yourself in a few years' time in a completely different place. So imagine this. Imagine you've got an ocean liner heading towards a particular destination. If you want it to change direction, you're going to have to change is it called the steering wheel? Anyway, you're going to have to change the wheel on the liner, the captain's wheel, right? To start to shift it to going, 1 degree further west or 1 degree further north, or whatever it's going to be, yeah? If you want to go to a different destination than where you're already headed. And by making that 1 degree shift, it's imperceivable. But then the next half an hour, you make another 1 degree shift. Yeah, and then the next hour you have another 1 degree shift, because you can't necessarily turn it all in one go, otherwise you're going to end up capsizing the thing, right? So the captain has to kind of shift incrementally 1 degree at a time. And if you make enough of these incremental shifts, then you're going to end up in a completely different place. You're going to end up at a totally different destination. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the analogy for your life. You are the captain of your ship, right? If you're heading towards a particular destination and you don't like it very much, whether it's to do with your health, whether it's to do with your wealth, your career, your family, your relationships, whatever it is, if you can start to shift that needle 1 degree at a time. Make a conscious choice and actually do the thing. This is the most important thing. Do the step. Don't talk about it. Get on and do it. Yeah, that you will start to shift 1 degree at a time, and you're going to end up in a completely different place, the place that you want to be headed towards, far, far, far more easily than you had ever thought possible before, just by making that concerted, conscientious decision to do that. So I hope you've enjoyed the idea of the incremental shift, the baby steps, as I call them as well. And think about something in your own life that you'd like to perhaps make a change with, and start to make that shift 1 degree at a time, 1 step at a time. That's all it takes. And remember, I'm always here to help. So feel free to reach out if you need any help with that. In the meantime, keep listening to these episodes, keep expanding. In the meantime, keep tuning in. I'll keep inspiring you and help you on that journey to your own success. Until next time.